Chris Cuomo has interviewed his brother Andrew Cuomo on CNN about 1 million times. And I want to show you a clip. This is from their latest interview. Then I want to come back and talk about it. And just so everybody understands, this really highlights the mood of the various interviews that they've done. So let's take a look and then we'll discuss.
You had video come out before we go to break where you wanted to encourage people to get tested, and some people are afraid it's going to hurt. So you had video of it that I want to show the audience of you actually getting tested. Here it is. There's you. You were kind of funny, and they were testing you. Now, a few questions about this process. First of all, is it true that when you were having the test administered, you inhaled and the doctor's finger went all the way up your nose and got stuck and had to be released with a tool? Is that true? Just to deal with the record.
She wanted to comment that I have a little button nose, and she was afraid that the swab would actually hurt because it extended my nasal cavity.
The proboscis
she was
issue.
Speaking about the delicacy of
the nose.
Yes.
And that's what, you know what, I understand. This is the normal swab I'm holding up here now, and for everybody at home. A very valuable object. There's only one company in the entire country that makes these up in Maine. All right, here's the swab. Is it true that this was the swab that the nurse was actually using on you, and that at first it went into your nose and disappeared, so that in scale, this was the actual swab that was being used to fit up that double-barrel shotgun that you have mounted on the front of your pretty face?
See, I said I was going to be nice and sweet.
I just want a yes, no.
And
was it
trying.
this?
I was trying.
Or was it this?
Very hard. Look.
Which was it?
Very funny. Not at all forced. You know, somebody made this point on Twitter that if you had Chris Cuomo interview Andrew Cuomo once, if you had him do it like 2 or 3 times, okay. When you have Chris Cuomo interview his brother repeatedly, and he does nothing but throw him softballs down the center of the plate, and it's a jovial laugh fest, how can anybody make the case that this isn't rank propaganda for the Democrats? They're siblings, and he's joking around. Now, lest you think, well, what questions are there to ask him, Kyle? There's no questions to ask him like this. He's done a good job with it, right? Andrew Cuomo has done a great job with COVID. This is something you hear a lot these days in the media. Well, we have 16,000 deaths in New York, 197,000 cases of coronavirus in New York. And this is just proven. Proven. The ones we've tested for and we know, the real numbers are way higher than this, okay? New York was the worst hit in the entire country. The entire country. At the same time that this was going on, Andrew Cuomo cut at least $6 billion from Medicaid. As a pandemic was hitting the state, he cut $6 billion from Medicaid. He also reopened nursing homes and allowed positive COVID patients to go back to the nursing homes, which then made it rip through the nursing homes and led to deaths. There's been no questions on any of that. So CNN keeps allowing Chris Cuomo to interview Andrew Cuomo, his brother who's a governor, and they keep allowing him to throw softballs down the center of the plate as New York was the worst hit in the entire country. And Andrew Cuomo made a series of horrific decisions, objectively bad decisions, like cutting Medicaid during a pandemic, like having the nursing homes open up and allowing COVID patients back in. This is unacceptable. This is inexcusable. But this is where we're at in today's political climate. You have Fox News, which is the propaganda arm of the Republican Party and the propaganda arm of Donald Trump. You have MSNBC and CNN, which is the propaganda arm of the corporate Democrats. The only thing that everybody agrees on is that you cannot give Bernie Sanders positive press. Fox News doesn't do it. CNN doesn't do it. MSNBC doesn't do it. The nightly news doesn't do it. That's the only one that uniquely gets crap. Anybody who's actually on the left, anybody who's social democratic or left of that, see that, then you're actually threatening real power. Can't give you positive coverage, have to mock you, have to, treat you like you're a leper. Look at this, man. They're doing rank propaganda here for Andrew Cuomo, joking around, having a good time. It's unacceptable. And these are from the people who think they're much better and much more objective journalists than the people on Fox. You're not. You're just doing propaganda for the Democratic Party. That's what you're doing. How can anybody say this isn't that? That's exactly what this is. He made a bunch of terrible decisions. His state did the worst in the country. And you're throwing softballs and joking around and talking about big cotton swabs and your tiny nose and... Come on, man. I mean, this is embarrassing. But unfortunately, the propaganda works. It works. And so people think, oh yeah, Andrew Cuomo did a great job, and I love the Cuomo brothers and their silly family stuff that they do on CNN. This is supposed to be a news network. You know what's so pathetic? You get better news from me, and I'm super opinionated and have a perspective, but you get more of the straight dope from me than you'll ever get from CNN or MSNBC. I'll tell you my bias up front. They don't tell you their bias. They have these segments and they act like, well, we're doing this because this is the right thing to do. And this is Andrew Cuomo didn't do anything wrong. And so we could have a jovial little conversation and treat him like he's wonderful and funny. You're supposed to try to hold politicians accountable. Listen, I was a Bernie supporter. The second Bernie started making decisions that I thought were bad, that I thought were wrong for the people, I called him out. I called him out repeatedly. They're not going to do that. They're not holding politicians accountable. And by the way, this is who this is who YouTube props up. YouTube props up CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, the nightly news, because they're authoritative sources. And by the way, I got a text the other day. Nico House uses a program that shows what the algorithm would look like if it just went by merit and if it just went by views. And what you see is videos from me, videos from him, videos from Jimmy Dore or TYT or Michael Brooks or Sam Cedar, all of these like independent new media outlets agree or disagree with us or them, okay? I know there's differences between all of us, clearly. We repeatedly get obliterated by the algorithm and hidden and downplayed and pushed to the side. I mean, on any given day, if I'll do a segment on Joe Biden, I'll do a segment on Donald Trump. It can get way more views initially than any CNN clip or MSNBC clip. But ultimately, those clips are clips because they get pumped out there relentlessly. And you're very likely to see them pop up more in the algorithm. Now, the biggest problem is when it comes to people who've never viewed this show before. So in other words, if you watch this show a bunch, it's very possible YouTube continues to recommend clips from this show. But it used to be the case, our stuff would get showed more to people who aren't normal viewers that are just watching some stuff on news and politics. You'd get a recommended secular talk video because we cover news and politics and we get a decent number of eyeballs on this show. But now, because of the algorithm, there's some sort of blacklist and whitelist and different tiers and different levels of how much you're recommended. And now all the independent media outlets are not recommended almost at all to new people. So sub growth is at a snail's pace. So you type in, you type in anything political and you look at the initial, recommendations, it's always going to be CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. We got lucky in that we slipped one, outsider outlet through, which is The Hill. The Hill is still getting favorable treatment from the YouTube algorithm. And by the way, I think the only reason it's getting favorable treatment from the YouTube algorithm is because it is a corporate media outlet. We just happen to have some adversarial voices that, basically slipped under the radar and are working for a media outlet like that. The guy who owns it, I think, is a multimillionaire or billionaire or something. So, but they get favorable treatment from the algorithm. So, but you don't see us there anymore. And it's just, we're fighting with not one arm tied behind our backs, two arms tied behind our backs. And we're still holding our own, even though they're doing everything they can to shove us to the corner and shove us to the side. So what I'm going to ask of you guys is very simple. I don't really bring this stuff up a lot because, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right to keep bringing it up. I figure if you guys like the show, you're going to subscribe anyway. But do me a favor, subscribe to the show, like the videos if you want. But also just click that bell so that when something drops, you get a notification. Because, again, it's so frustrating that we're not recommended to new people as much anymore. So at the very least, I would like to, continue to have our own people locked down to make sure that you watch every video that I release and to make sure that we don't get too obliterated by the algorithm where, we dwindle away and we actually start losing subscribers, because that's the next step. I'm sure that at some point they're going to implement some sort of algorithm change where it's not just that they slow our rate of growth massively. I could see them implementing some sort of algorithm change where we perpetually lose subscribers. And that's the really terrifying one. I mean, it's already bad. The fact that Secular Talk doesn't really pop up anymore in the initial searches when you type in something political, even though we're political and very popular, that's bad enough. But I'm dreading when it starts going in the other direction. And so also support any independent media outlets that you happen to like, that you happen to watch a lot. Because I don't trust YouTube. They don't trust YouTube. All of us are just at their whim and at their mercy and at their grace. And I don't trust leadership at all, even a little bit. So if you wanted to be a Patreon member, I would greatly appreciate it. And I want to say thank you to everybody who already donates on Patreon. What we do is we try to fund the show through, people who watch and give $2 a month or $3 a month. If you want to go nuts, $7 a month. And that allows me to not worry as much about what YouTube is doing in terms of monetization and in terms of hiding the content. So, but it's terrifying, man, and it's terrible that this is viewed authoritatively. That's the point of this segment. If you take nothing else away from this segment, make it this. What you just saw with the Cuomo brothers, laughing it up, jokes, New York was worst hit by coronavirus and is still doing terrible. That is viewed like authoritative news. The same outlets that got Russiagate dead wrong, viewed as authoritative news. The same outlets that got the Iraq War dead wrong, viewed as authoritative news. This outlet, yes, I'm opinionated. Yes, I'm loud. Yes, I'm uncivil. I don't have decorum, all that stuff. But if you go issue for issue, we've been a hell of a lot more accurate than all these stupid outlets. Okay? And we're not viewed as authoritative, and we're blacklisted, and we're, shoved to the corner and not recommended. And it's just a shame, man, and it's pathetic. And we warned everybody every step of the way. That's the final point I'll make on this. I warned them every step of the way. Anybody on the left who ever advocated for deplatforming or censorship or for YouTube to take action against bad stuff, yes! I told them it's a Trojan horse. It's immediately going to be used to take your stuff and push it to the corner and censor it or deplatform it. They're going to do something to tamp down your popularity. They're going to do something. But unfortunately, many people did not listen, and they did not understand that once you set a precedent, it never ends there. And now we are where we are, where we're getting screwed. We're getting screwed by the algorithm, and they're feeding us this garbage. This garbage. It'd be one thing if they pushed these guys and they weren't objectively terrible and insulting, but they are objectively terrible and insulting. And it's not just CNN, it is MSNBC, it is Fox News, it is all the other so-called authoritative outlets. They're actually a hell of a lot worse than many of the alternative outlets, the independent outlets like ours, which are not afraid to, cross some lines that they would never cross.